I'm Jim Alcon, editorial director of Booktrib.com, where readers come to discover. And I'd like to welcome you to another Booktrib author interview. And today we are going to help you discover another book, which is what we do. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Susan Goldfein, if you check her birth certificate, you'll see this, is highly qualified to talk about and tarnish the golden years. And she does so with great wit and wisdom that we've really come to expect. Her first two award-winning books were titled How Old Am I in Dog Years and How to Complain When There's Nothing to Complain About. You got that? You know anybody that fits that description? Her newest book, Laughing My Way Through the Third Stage, is a collection of hilarious essays that comments on her personal, but as you'll learn, highly relatable journey through the decades and focuses on what she calls women of a certain age. I should say Susan also holds a doctorate in communication disorders from Teachers College, Columbia University, which, while affording her success in her former life, has done absolutely nothing, she will tell you, to prepare her for creating books. Susan, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Jim.
Well, it's good to have you here. You know, I should tell you that I'm speaking from Booktrib's palatial headquarters complex in Westport, Connecticut, and if I dare say so, it looks like you're based in a laundry room. Tell us a little bit why that is the case.
I'm glad you asked me to explain that because clearly there is a washer dryer on this side, whatever side that is on the screen. I'm in Florida right now, which is where we spend the winters. And last year we sold a house and moved into an apartment. And, you know, we had good space. We renovated it, everything. And then at the last minute, I realized that I didn't allocate a spot for myself where I'm going to keep my computer and do all my genius writing. And we walked around the apartment and said, you know, oh, how about the master bedroom? No, I don't want to mess up the bedroom. How about the guest room? No, I don't want to not be able to use it if we have a guest. And the dining room table was out of the question. Of course, my husband took the best space, so that was gone already. And then this light bulb went off in my head. And I said, I've got this fairly large laundry room. I don't need all that space for laundry. So we moved things around a little, ripped out a few cabinets, put in a desk, and here I am right next to my washer dryer. And it's worked out very well. And it's given myself and my friends a bit of a chuckle that I work out of my laundry room. So.
Well, it's certainly unique. You know, we've had this interview on the schedule for a while. So all I would ask is that if the clothes are done, maybe just hold off until after we're finished before you fold them and this or that.
No laundry going right now.
Right. So let me start off. I want to quote the actress Diana Rigg, and I thought this would be an appropriate way to get us going. Here's what Diana says, and you've used this quote in some of your materials. The older you get, the funnier you find life. If you get serious about yourself as you get old, you are pathetic. So tell us how have you taken those words to heart?
Well, I think when I started writing my blog, which is now over 10 years ago, my goal was to face life with humor, just in general. And every year that you age, you can find more things to complain about and more things to, get depressed about. And what I have tried to make light of, the not very serious, fortunately I haven't been really ill. And so when I read that about Diana Rigg, I read that quote from Diana Rigg, I felt totally validated that, you've got to face life with a sense of humor. You just have to.
Great. Once you became an official card-carrying member of a certain generation, you began a second career as a blogger, a public speaker, an author, writing for what you call an audience of a certain age. How did you make that transition, and tell us, why did you make it?
Well, it was my dog. I'm sorry, it was retirement. I was almost ready to retire, but not quite. And I've been working all my adult life, and circumstances had it that I had to retire. Excuse me, I'm getting over COVID, so I'm still a little throaty, like I still have the remnants of a bad cold. So I was retired and just thrust into this like empty space in my life where I really didn't know what I was going to do with myself. And that, plus the fact that we had decided to spend a good part of the year down in Florida. And I looked terrible in golf clothes, so that wasn't really a big option for me. And also the temptation of canasta, I don't know, it had too many rules. I couldn't deal with it. So I found a writing class, and I always liked to write. And I thought, let me see if I still have the stuff. And it was through my writing class and the encouragement of the woman who led the writing class that I started writing these funny essays. And then, as they say, the rest is history.
So you've been described as a cross between Irma Bombeck and Nora Ephron, which is kind of flattering, and with a little Andy Rooney sprinkled in. Is that how do you react to that? Is that a good description?
I love it. I love it. To be put in the same category with my three muses is highly complimentary. I loved Nora Ephron. I loved her essays about becoming an older woman. I loved Irma Bombeck for her satire and her very funny comedic essays about marriage and family. And Andy Rooney, if you remember, at the end of 60 Minutes, he had about 90 minutes to complain. Right. And he did it with such crankiness and humor. I look forward to it every week. Right. And I said, well, he was a curmudgeon, but I didn't know if a woman could be a curmudgeon, but I thought I'm going to strive for that. So
he would always, I remember him well. He had a great style, and it always came at the end. And you're right, he always complained about something.
And it was trivial.
I remember him saying something about soap should always be white, sheets should always be white. There are certain things when you study telephone should always be a certain color.
Exactly.
So Susan, you tend to be in your writing shows that you tend to be a keen observer of everyday events and activities and routines and emotions, particularly of seniors. And you have a unique way of looking at simple moments in your life and twisting them into something unique and humorous. I like to think you're almost, you're kind of a Seinfeld for seniors. Could you share with us some of maybe a few anecdotes in the book and observations that you've included to give us some examples of that kind of humor? I know you have a ton, but can you give us a few examples?
I love that you put me in Seinfeld, because that's not me. That's that's not my machines.
No, we're in public relations, so that's what we're doing.
So Seinfeld, his specialty and his show was all about observational humor, and it was just taking the everyday and looking at it with a kind of sideways point of view. And, there would be humor in the most ordinary things. And that's how it started out for me, and that was what I strove for. I'll give you a couple of examples. Okay. One day, my husband, whose office was overflowing with waste papers, I stood in the doorway because I couldn't get in really, and said, I think you should consider throwing some of this away. And he said to me, okay, why don't you get me a garbage bag? And I, right away my feminist rankles started, and I said, I should get him a garbage bag. Why doesn't he just go get his own garbage bag? And suddenly it dawned on me that he might not even know where the garbage bags were. And then, and it was not unlikely. That was quite possible. And then I started thinking of all the other things around the house, little things that if I wasn't here anymore, he'd be lost. And so I wrote this essay called If I Should Die Before You, which sounds very morbid, but it was actually very funny. And I had this list. I started this list of all the things that I was sure he was not aware of that he needed to be aware of. And one of them was where the garbage bags were. So, and I hoped it inspired other people to make similar lists around their house. So, that was one thing that could have led to an argument in a way. I could have just popped out and said, get your own damn garbage bag. Why are you asking me to get it for you? But
let me ask you about a couple of particular topics that I know you would get to. Okay. You defend having an AOL email address.
Oh, yes. Okay. You tell people ask you for your email address and you say blah, blah, blah at AOL.com. And depending on the age of the person who's asking the question, you get a kind of funny look back at you because it means you're a relic. It means you're a dinosaur. If you're still using AOL as your email address, you are not from this century. And I want someone to explain to me what another email address can provide me that AOL does not. And
Social Security.
AOL was the first. It was the first. And when email got popular, any store you went into, there were these discs from AOL because and you put them in your computer and you got dial up and the little man would run across the screen and, tell you that you've got mail. And they were the first. And I saw, even though there was Gmail and Yahoo and MSN and all these other things, why do I want to change? Mm-hmm. I have no reason to change. Absolutely none. So I wrote an essay about it, and I wrote an essay defending, why I stick with, and unless you tell me that Gmail or one of these others can, mop the floor or throw out the garbage, I don't see any reason to switch at all. I will say they are not my, what I use to get on the internet, but I do use them strictly for email, and I see no reason not to.
Let me throw another one at you. The indignity of shopping for a bathing suit. We're a general purpose audience here, so be careful how you answer that.
Okay, well, if you're a woman of a certain age and for some reason beyond your control, you are forced into the situation of needing a new bathing suit. I know a lot of women my age that won't even put a bathing suit on anymore, but I'm not one of them. But you are forced to confront every flaw that nature has bestowed upon you over the years. You need uplifting where you never needed uplifting before. You need your tummy tuck where you've never needed your tummy tuck before. It's a big question of, how much to reveal, how much not to reveal. When I say your reveal-conceal ratio has changed tremendously, and I say you are forced to confront every part of your body that you normally prefer to keep covered up. And
you've also commented on the experience of your body losing inches but gaining pounds. Right?
Yeah. It's not uncommon to lose some height as we age, and your spine just, the discs in your spine just kind of compress. And the first time this was revealed to me was, I've always been tall. Suddenly people describe me as petite. And I said, no, I'm not petite. I've never been petite in my life. But the first was brought to my attention was during a physical exam where the nurse, weighs you, measures you and all. And she told me what my height was. And I said, oh, no, that's not right. That's not right. I am 5'6.5". I've always been. she said, listen, this doesn't lie. It's only a ruler. The ruler doesn't lie. And sure enough, there I was, at least 1.5 inches shorter and 5 pounds heavier. And I think it's a nasty trick that nature plays on us. Men shrink too. It's not just women. Unfortunately,
keep us out of this. Keep us out of this.
Yeah.
This is your interview. I'm just a bystander. Let me ask you, Susan, what's your favorite part of writing these books? What do you enjoy the most about it?
I think it's the challenge of finding something fresh and new to say about everyday life. About finding something ridiculous in a commonplace thing, like Andy Rooney saying, sheets should be white, and there's fodder all around, and you have to keep it open, be open to finding the humor in these kinds of situations.
I think very, very, very often, sometimes, people, you'll experience something and you'll say, you can't make this stuff up.
Exactly.
Somebody will think you're making it up, but it's just like real life finds enough amusement and comedy in it that, if you're astute enough or tuned into that kind of stuff, you'll find it, just very simple everyday occurrences for sure.
Right. And my first 2 books, How Old Am I in Dog Years and How to Complain When There's Nothing to Complain About, my topics were very varied. I commented on, I wrote about, almost anything that struck me as having a funny side to it. Like one time I wrote about my Cool Whip addiction, and, as an otherwise healthy eater, I had this craving for Cool Whip that had to be satisfied. And, just anything in general, how I lived in a town in Westport, Connecticut, where when they said a new movie came out and said in selected theaters, our town was never selected, and it wasn't fair, So, I mean, it was just stuff, just anything. And then when I decided to do Laughing My Way Through the Third Stage, this recent book, it was very focused on my own aging process that hopefully people will find relatable. So.
And now your primary audience for the book is obviously the seniors generation, but can the book can be read and enjoyed by other generations as well? Yes.
I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, I think when I say senior generation, you think of the Medicare set, but I think once we pass 50, things start changing. Maybe women are more aware of it than men, because I think women have a tougher time with society, gives us a tougher time with the aging process. Women over 50 complain that they starting to find themselves invisible, and people don't pay attention to them anymore, and nobody whistles at them in the street, and the construction workers look the other way, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I do think it's women are more acutely aware of their own aging cycles.
Got it.
And so I think that, as I say, I don't think you have to be collecting Social Security quite yet to relate to some of the things I've written about.
Got it. I would speak sometimes in front of author groups, and in my past life, I would moderate panels in different industries and things. And I remember somebody once gave me this piece of advice. They would say, never start out with a joke unless you are absolutely 100% sure that you're going to get laughs and you're going to be funny, because they said, a lot of people will start out and maybe they think they're funny, or they think that's how I'm going to embrace the audience. Mm-hmm. And it just sort of lies there flat, so don't ever start out with a joke. So I want to ask you, just, it's hard to be funny, isn't it? It's hard and to be funny consistently, so I'm kind of curious, how do you go about that process? And do you ever worry that, hey, maybe I missed that one, or maybe I offended somebody, maybe they took it the wrong way? How do you sort of do that delicate balance of trying to entertain and be funny and just make sure that you are funny?
Um, that's a good and complicated question. In terms of excuse me, in terms of offending, trying not to be offensive, I am very sensitive to my audience, and clearly, I don't know every person that reads, my blog or buys my book, and I do try not to be controversial. I really do. I try to keep opinions, my own opinions, uh, out of it, in a sense. Except, obviously, they're my opinions about something being funny or not. But I stay away from politics. I stay away from religion, all the sensitive areas, and I don't really pick on my family either, except for my husband. He is the source of some of my humor, but he's been a very good sport about it.
Good.
I have a deadline on my blogs. It's a self-imposed deadline. I write 2 essays a month. They
Okay.
come out in the middle of the month and at the end of the month. And as the 15th of the month approaches, sometimes I am in a state of panic because I don't have an idea. I don't have an idea. And I do worry, and I say, why do I do this to myself? Reconsider Canasta. This is ridiculous.
Well, let me just mention the name of the blog. It's Susan's Unfiltered Wit, correct?
Yes, Susan's
And
Unfiltered
where would people find this? Oh, is that it?
Susan's unfilteredwit.com.
Okay.
And it's free of charge, unlike my books. And you can find it and just sign on if you want to receive my essays twice a month.
Right.
And obviously you can unsubscribe it when you've had enough of me, and you don't want any more, you can unsubscribe. But
let me just ask a couple more questions, then I'm going to go let you walk the dog, okay? Or dog, one of the two.
Do you mind if I put my dog up on my lap? I think that's what he's barking. Come here, Amy. Come here.
What's the dog's name?
This is Sam.
Sam. Oh, how cute. Look at that.
He is the world's cutest dog. There's no question about it.
Look at that.
This
We'll do a
is
separate
Sam.
Facebook Live with Sam.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Thank you, Sam.
Beautiful
Yeah.
dog. So
Sam has appeared in several of my essays, so he's part of my inspiration.
Who are some writers and comedians that you've admired and provided you with some inspiration over the years?
Well, we've already mentioned some of them. Nora Ephraim, Irma Bombeck. Who else is funny? Funny writers. Chelsea Handler. I think she's quite funny. In terms of comedians, women, I used to love Joan Rivers. And I also love Phyllis Diller. She was very self-deprecating, and in a way, was able to make fun of herself, her appearance. I think that's part of what I do. Actually, part of what I've incorporated. Not that, but it's the fact that I've shrunk and gained weight. It's to make humor out of that.
Right.
That was Phyllis Diller's thing, and I thought she was hilarious. More recently, I really like Tina Fey, who is a great comic as well as a great writer. You notice I'm sticking to women. I like Amy Schumer, although I often think about some of these younger female comedians, even the male comedians, that tend to be a bit raunchy. And I always wonder, well, first of all, that's not my style. Even if I was to do stand-up, I probably couldn't do that. But I always wonder, is that absolutely necessary, in order to be funny?
We saw her in concert around here recently, in the last about a month ago, and she was very funny. And my daughter warned me. She said, she's going to be too funny for you, but she really wasn't. She really, I guess maybe she took a look at the audience and said, "I will." This is.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But let me ask you. We're just about running out of time. But one final question: what do you hope? What's the one thing that you hope readers will take away from reading your books?
That I hope that they will be able to open themselves up and see humor in everyday life. I mean, if you're standing online in the supermarket on the express line, 12 items only, and somebody has 20, and you're starting to feel furious, okay, what about that is funny? You know what I mean? It's like the, this, all of these moments which could ostensibly either wind up with in an argument with a loved one or, um, just some real aggravation. Just if you could see another side to it, I think it would lower your blood pressure a lot.
I think coming back full circle back to the Diana Rigg comment.
Yeah.
If you get serious about yourself as you get old, you're pathetic. So
exactly.
Enjoy life, find the funny things. We're out of time, but again, our guest today, Susan Goldfein, thank you so much for being here. The book again is Laughing My Way Through the Third Stage. The dog is Sammy, and we've enjoyed chatting with you. And I would certainly encourage our audience, check this book out. It's very funny, as are her other ones. And thanks for being here today, and we'll see you the next time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, Susan, thanks.